I do not object to sex. What I hate is the man who begs for it, who surrenders himself to some crafty woman, who turns his lust into her strength.
Lust is part of life.
And nothing must interfere with the development of the hero which is inside you. And if lust stands in the way, lust must be overcome. Choose between comfort, and the truth.
Are they mutually exclusive?
You want to choose the pleasure of growth, prepare yourself for some pain. You want less pain? Shrink. Go. Be part of the herd.
Beyond the herds, society, culture, and the new values Nietzsche. Übermensch is not just an individual ideal, but a profound challenge to the fabric of society and culture itself. To truly achieve this next stage of humanity, the existing social order, what Nietzsche often calls the herd, must be questioned and, in some sense, transcended. The herd represents the masses who conform to established norms, values, and beliefs without questioning them. For Nietzsche, this conformity leads to mediocrity, stagnation, and the suppression of true individuality. The herd seeks comfort in sameness and fears the disruptive force of difference. The Übermensch, by contrast, is radically independent, not just intellectually, but morally and spiritually. This independence means rejecting the conventional morality imposed by religion, politics, and popular culture. Instead, the Übermensch creates new values, new frameworks for meaning that arise from personal strength and insight rather than tradition or external authority. This process is inherently revolutionary. It demands a deeper valuation of what we consider good, true, and beautiful. Traditional ideas about equality, democracy, and social justice, which Nietzsche critiqued sharply, are seen as attempts to level all differences, to enforce a kind of uniformity that suppresses excellence. Nietzsche's critique does not simply dismiss social cooperation or the benefits of community, but he warns against the tyranny of the majority, where true creativity and greatness are sacrificed for the sake of comfort and security. The new values of the Übermensch must emerge not from consensus but from the will of the strongest spirits, those who can bear the responsibility of shaping the future. This transformation will be slow and arduous. Nietzsche recognized that societies do not change overnight. Instead, he saw history as a series of struggles between old and new values, between stagnation and growth. The Übermensch is not a utopian figure who arrives fully formed, but a horizon toward which humanity must strive, a goal that calls forth courage, discipline, and vision. Culturally, this means fostering environments where excellence is celebrated, where individuals are encouraged to challenge inherited dogmas and to push beyond the limits of what is comfortable or accepted. Art, philosophy, and leadership all have roles to play in this renewal. Ultimately, the rise of the Übermensch is about life affirmation, embracing existence with all its complexity and ambiguity, and forging a path that is uniquely one's own. It is a call to transcend the ordinary and to awaken the extraordinary potential within humanity. Overcoming nihilism, embracing life's challenge, a crucial part of Nietzsche's philosophy. Intimately tied to the idea of the Übermensch is his response to nihilism, the belief that life lacks inherent meaning or value. In Nietzsche's time, and arguably in ours, nihilism loomed as a dangerous void, a spiritual dead end resulting from the decline of traditional religious and moral certainties. Many have misunderstood Nietzsche as a pessimist or a prophet of despair because of his stark critique of established values. Yet, far from condemning life to meaninglessness, Nietzsche offers a radical solution: to embrace nihilism fully and then move beyond it. He saw nihilism not as a final state but as a necessary stage, a dark night of the soul that must be endured and transcended. This means confronting the abyss honestly, recognizing that old beliefs have crumbled and that the world offers no pre-given purpose. For Nietzsche, this confrontation is not cause for despair but for creative liberation. The collapse of inherited values leaves a blank canvas on which the individual can paint their own meaning. It is here that the Übermensch emerges, not as a nihilist, but as the one who overcomes nihilism by creating new values, new goals, and a new way of being. This act of creation requires tremendous courage. To live without comforting illusions is to face life's rawness head-on. But Nietzsche insists this is the only path to genuine freedom and fulfillment. The Übermensch does not seek to escape the chaos of existence, but to affirm it, to say a resounding yes to life, with all its pain, beauty, struggle, and joy. This will to power, a central concept in Nietzsche's thought, is the drive to assert oneself, to grow, and to overcome obstacles, not just external foes, but internal limitations as well. It is the force behind self-mastery and the creation of values, pushing humanity forward into new possibilities. In this light, nihilism becomes a catalyst rather than a curse. It destroys false idols and opens the way for something greater. The Übermensch embodies this transformative energy, a beacon of strength and creativity in a world stripped of easy answers. Thus, Nietzsche's vision is both a warning and a promise. If humanity cannot overcome nihilism, it faces decay and stagnation. But if it can, through courage and self-overcome, it can birth a new era, one where life is affirmed in its fullest, most powerful expression. The core philosophy, radical individualism and self. At the heart of Nietzsche's Übermensch lies a philosophy of radical individualism, a call to break free from all external authorities and preordained identities, to become the architect of one's own existence. This isn't a casual suggestion, but a fierce demand to stand alone, independent and unyielding, in a world eager to categorize and control. Nietzsche saw the modern world as drowning in conformity, in the comfort of mass opinions and shallow morals. The church, the state, social ideologies, all forces that impose boundaries on the individual's will and potential. For Nietzsche, these are not mere systems. They are existential threats that crush the unique spirit within every person. The Übermensch must rise above this, refusing to be a cog in the machine or a product of herd mentality. This requires self-mastery, the rigorous discipline of mastering one's desires, emotions, and impulses rather than being ruled by them. It is not enough to desire greatness. One must become the master of oneself in mind, body, and soul. This mastery involves a profound honesty with oneself. Nietzsche challenges us to confront our weaknesses, our fears, and our contradictions without flinching. The Übermensch does not seek comfort in illusions or easy answers. Instead, he embraces the chaos within and around him as a crucible for growth. In Nietzsche's vision, true freedom is found not in escaping responsibility, but in shouldering it fully, the responsibility for one's values, choices, and destiny. The Übermensch creates his own morality, his own standards, and lives by them with courage and integrity. This is not anarchic rebellion, but the foundation for authentic greatness. Nietzsche rejects traditional morality as a slave morality, one designed to keep the masses docile and obedient. In contrast, the Übermensch embodies a master morality, values born of strength, creativity, and life. These values are not handed down. They are forged through struggle and self. This self-overcoming is a constant process, an endless becoming. The Übermensch is not a fixed state or a final achievement, but a dynamic path, a life lived as an art form, constantly shaping and reshaping oneself in pursuit of ever higher possibilities. Nietzsche famously encapsulates this journey in the parable of the camel, the lion, and the child. The camel carries burdens willingly, symbolizing the acceptance of tradition and duty. The lion fights to destroy old values and break free from external constraints. The child embodies creative innocence, the ability to say yes to life and invent new values. The Übermensch moves through these stages, but remains forever in the child's spirit, playful, fearless, and creative. This radical individualism is not solipsism or selfishness. Rather, it is a courageous affirmation of life's potential, a rejection of the easy path in favor of profound personal and cultural transformation. Today, we explore one of philosophy's most challenging and inspiring ideas, Friedrich Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch. We begin by asking the most unsettling question: what remains when we destroy everything we have? This question, dark and profound, is one Nietzsche explored deeply in his philosophy. His answer was the concept of the Übermensch, the overman or beyond human, a being greater than mankind as we know it, the next evolutionary step, not of flesh, but of spirit and will. The Übermensch defies easy definition. It is simultaneously apocalyptic and aspirational, terrifying and comforting. For those wandering lost in the dense forest of life, Nietzsche's Übermensch offers not an escape but a fierce, uncompromising direction. To be radically, violently independent, to claim yourself, fully in a world that constantly tries to force you into pre-existing molds and categories. Yet this description is reductive. To truly understand the Übermensch, we must explore its origins and nuances more meaningfully. Nietzsche, a German philosopher of the late 19th century, developed this idea during a time of great upheaval and change. But the roots of the Übermensch go further back. We find early shadows of it in the ancient Syrian writer Lucian's satirical figure of the hyperanthropos, a superhuman parody, and in Ralph Waldo Emerson's essay, which envisioned humanity's unified soul ascending beyond its present limits. Though Nietzsche and Emerson clashed ideologically, Nietzsche himself called Emerson the spiritual brother, noting how deeply he resonated with his writings. The word Übermensch itself resists. Simple translation, Mensch means person or human, but Über means over, above, or beyond. So literally, Übermensch means beyond human. Some translated it as Superman, but this was overshadowed by the comic book hero, so Overman became the preferred English term. Though it lacks the depth and cultural weight the German original carries, perhaps we should accept Übermensch as an untranslatable idea, a unique concept bound to its linguistic and philosophical roots. Nietzsche first touched on the idea in his 1874 essay on moods, describing elevated emotional states, moments when a person could rise above ordinary feelings into something almost transcendent. Most people experience these states briefly, oscillating between highs and lows, but Nietzsche imagined a possibility, living permanently in this elevated state. This was an ideal, perhaps a fantasy, but it planted the seed for the Übermensch. The fuller vision emerges in Nietzsche as magnum opus. Thus spoke Zarathustra, where Zarathustra, an all-seeing prophet, declares humanity's sick, burdened by conscience and weakness, but pregnant with the promise of something greater. Man, Nietzsche says, is an incomplete, transitional creature, a bridge to a future form. The Übermensch is that future, not an alien species, but a new mode of being, a destination humanity must collectively pursue by reevaluating values, morals, and what progress means. Historical greats like Caesar, Leonardo da Vinci, and Napoleon, while mighty, fall short of the Übermensch. They belong to an older world destined to be left behind. Nietzsche rejected nihilism, the belief that life is meaningless. Even though many mistakenly label him a nihilist, his point was that nihilism must be confronted head-on and transcended, not ignored. By going through nihilism, we clear the way for new values and true individual fulfillment, free from outdated ideologies and moral codes. Christianity, Nietzsche argued, had failed to unify humanity or bring about true progress. Its dogmas were shackles preventing the rise of the Übermensch. All isms, ideologies, religions, political systems were barriers to radical individuality and freedom. The Übermensch breaks free from these chains, fully embracing freedom and greatness beyond societal constraints. This is not about biological evolution but a transformation of spirit and culture, a new paradigm. The Übermensch is not a chosen few by birth or bloodline, but an ideal humanity can strive toward, a collective future that demands courage, creativity, and fierce independence. Misreadings, misuses, and the shadow of the Übermensch idea in modern philosophy has been so widely invoked and so widely misunderstood, as Nietzsche from political ideologues to self-help gurus, from dystopian literature to authoritarian regimes. The figure of the Übermensch has often been twisted into something Nietzsche would have likely detested, a justification for power, dominance, or cruelty. Let's be blunt. Nietzsche's Übermensch is not a supremacist. It is not a racial or nationalistic ideal, and it is certainly not a blueprint for tyranny. Yet history has seen the term weaponized, most infamously by Nazi ideology. Despite the fact that Nietzsche was deeply anti-nationalist, anti-Semitic, and utterly contemptuous of herd mentalities, especially in the form of state power or dogmatic institutions. So how did this happen? Nietzsche's works were edited and manipulated by his sister, Elizabeth, a nationalist sympathizer who sought to align his philosophy with German militarism and Aryan ideology. She recontextualized his words, deleted contradictions, and handed a distorted Nietzsche to a rising Third Reich. The Nazis, eager for philosophical legitimacy, latched onto the image of the Übermensch as a mythic superior being, which they then redefined along racial lines. But this was a grotesque misreading. Nietzsche's Übermensch is an individual ideal, not a collective or biological one. He admired Jews for their resilience and creative spirit and despised anti-Semitism as weak, resentful, and ignorant. In truth, Nietzsche's Übermensch would have likely regarded the Nazi state with its mass conformity, moral absolutism, and cultish fervor as the very embodiment of slave morality. Pop culture and the alpha male were fantasy. In the 20th and 21st centuries, Nietzsche's ideas also bled into pop philosophy and self-help, where they were often reduced to slogans about power, dominance, or being above morality. The Übermensch got flattened into a kind of ultra-competent, emotionless Übermensch, often resembling a Silicon Valley CEO, a Jordan Peterson archetype, or a red pill. But this too is a shallow interpretation. The true Übermensch does not dominate others. He overcomes himself. He does not crave status or adoration. He creates values that transcend recognition. His strength lies in inner integrity, not outward control. Where the alpha male concept obsesses over competition, Nietzsche's Übermensch is more concerned with creation and transcendence, a deeper evolution, not a social game. The nihilist mistake. Many mistake Nietzsche for a nihilist after all. He proclaimed God is dead and diagnosed the collapse of traditional values. But he didn't stop there. Nietzsche feared passive nihilism, the resignation that comes when meaning dies. The Übermensch is his answer to that death, a being who says yes to life despite its suffering, chaos, and absurdity, not a void, but a rebirth. Those who use Nietzsche to justify apathy, cynicism, or moral relativism are engaging only with the first half of his thought. They tear down, but never rebuild. Nietzsche despised that. In summary, the Übermensch is dangerous, not because it breeds monsters, but because it is easy to misunderstand. It demands nuanced depth and personal struggle. It resists being co-opted by systems or simplified into dogma. Misread, it can serve tyrants. Understood, it liberates individuals. Nietzsche's true Übermensch is a visionary, not a conqueror, a creator, not a ruler. He stands beyond good and evil, but not beyond love, suffering, or humanity. Becoming the Übermensch, a personal reckoning now that we've crossed the intellectual terrain. From Nietzsche's context, through his fierce critique of morality, into the fire of self-overcoming and the shadows of misinterpretation, we reach the point of ultimate confrontation. What does this have to do with you? Because for Nietzsche, philosophy was never about abstraction. It was a weapon, a scalpel, a mirror held to your soul, not to comfort you, but to demand something of you. The Übermensch is not a theory. It's not a concept you admire. It's a challenge you answer or ignore. Your life is a work of art. Nietzsche asks, can you shape your existence like a sculptor chisels stone? Can you live in such a way that, if the universe were to repeat itself eternally, you would welcome it again and again? That's eternal recurrence, not as a cosmic truth, but as a test. Would you affirm your life so deeply that you'd choose it eternally without a single alteration? If not, then what needs to change? What values have you inherited that are no longer yours? What chains have you mistaken for principles? What comforts have you confused with strength? No gods, no masters, no excuses. The Übermensch does not wait for meaning to be given. He creates it. He doesn't appeal to divine order, social approval, or cosmic fairness. He takes the chaos of existence and carves into it a personal ethos, forged from pain, honesty, vision, and action. To walk the path of the Übermensch is to abandon the hope that someone else will make your life worthwhile. It's to take radical ownership, not just of your goals, but of your suffering, your past, your fears. You must carry your scars like a signature, not a shame. The infinite climb becoming the Übermensch is not a destination. You will never arrive. There is no moment of final transformation. Instead, it's a daily refusal to regress, to submit, to live in bad faith. It's waking up and asking, what do I truly believe? Where am I still lying to myself? What can I destroy in order to create something nobler, more true? A dangerous freedom. Nietzsche offers no peace. The Übermensch is not a comfortable role model. He cannot be followed, only inspired by, because your Übermensch will never look like mine. The whole point is that he must be yours. This is terrifying, but also liberating, because once you stop waiting for salvation, you begin to build it, brick by brick, choice by choice, failure by failure. That's the essence of Nietzsche's demand. Don't just think differently, become different. Becoming in the modern world. The Übermensch today, the figure of the Übermensch may have emerged from the 19th century, but its echoes can still be heard in the modern psyche. In a time of mass media, social algorithms, instant gratification, and ideological polarization, Nietzsche's call to radical individuality and value creation feels more pressing than ever. But what does striving toward the Übermensch look like today? To start, we must understand that the Übermensch is not a prescriptive formula. It is not a checklist or a lifestyle. It is a direction, an orientation toward life that demands relentless self-awareness, courage, and responsibility. It means stepping outside the frameworks of external validation, followers, status, and instead cultivating inner strength and authenticity. In an age where identities are increasingly shaped by group affiliations and tribal politics, Nietzsche's ideal stands in sharp contrast. The Übermensch is not right or left, not bound to slogans or trends. He or she transcends labels. They do not argue to win or to belong. They speak because they must, because something true burns within them that the world does not yet recognize. This is not the same as mere contrarianism or something. The Übermensch is not simply rebellious. He creates, he brings forth new modes of thinking, new ways of being. He is a bridge to something greater. As Nietzsche himself wrote, man is a rope tied between beast and Übermensch, a rope over an abyss. The abyss today might be nihilism disguised as distraction. Many live lives of quiet despair, masked by routines and digital past. The Übermensch rejects this numbness. He embraces discomfort, the unknown, and the difficult path, because it is the only path that leads forward. This is where Nietzsche's philosophy becomes deeply practical, though never easy. It demands self-discipline, mastery over impulses, and the courage to confront the truth of oneself without illusion. Creative freedom, not in the aesthetic sense alone, but in how one lives, how one acts, how one dares to think differently. Moral independence, the strength to define one's own values, even when they contradict popular opinion or inherited tradition. Spiritual resilience, a willingness to stare into the void, to accept suffering, and still affirm life with a yes. In this, the Übermensch offers not just an escape from modern anxiety, but a way through it. Nietzsche did not believe we could return to ancient gods, nor that we could fully rely on science or reason alone to give us meaning. Instead, meaning must be created through action, through becoming, through overcoming. Today's would-be Übermenschen are not superheroes, nor are they masters over others. They are masters of themselves, forging new values, living with integrity, and pushing the boundaries of what it means to be human. The journey is not for everyone, but Nietzsche never intended it to be. It is for those who cannot live within the walls built by others, for those who burn with the need to shape their own world. You were not born to obey, you were not born to follow. You were born to create, to stand in the face of chaos and shape it. Nietzsche didn't want disciples. He wanted individuals so strong they would one day dare to disagree with him. The Übermensch isn't a hero in a cape. He's the version of you that rises from the ashes of all your excuses. So don't just absorb this. Don't just think it's interesting. Do something with it. Tear down what no longer serves you. Rebuild, rethink, reclaim, become. This isn't the end of a video. It's the beginning of your revolt. Become the Übermensch, no gods, no masters, no excuses.